it going, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the top 10 films of 2021 in March of 2022. Well, I figured I'd do this video, late as it is, right before the Oscars, because if I don't do it now, I don't think I'm ever going to do it. So before I get to my top 10, I actually do have a pretty long list, actually, of honorable mentions, and I'm going to kind of pick and choose some of these, so they're not going to be exactly in order. But I feel like these are movies I should bring up because I did thoroughly enjoy a lot of them. We'll start off with Titane. Definitely not a movie for everyone, but for the crowd that likes something interesting and different, it's certainly one to check out. In terms of documentaries of the year, these ones weren't the strongest, but I still enjoyed them. That's Lost Leonardo and Val. My favorite Western of the year, Old Henry, contrary to what everyone else thinks about Power of the Dog. That's not going to be on this list. So, yeah, that movie didn't make the cut. Then we have The Electric Life of Louis Wayne, the best Cumberbatch performance in my opinion. No, he was good in both movies. He was equally as good in this one. Then we have Spencer, Licorice Pizza, The Worst Person in the World. Hey, a Nick Cage film. I mean, Pig. Didn't think I'd ever say it. Tick, Tick, Boom, one of the better musicals of the year. That's right, West Side Story. There's musicals that are better than you this year. Then we have Oxygen. It's a French thriller, one of the better thrillers of the year. As far as some of these other titles goes, I didn't really know whether I should put them into the list or not because they were technically last year's films, or some of them are even older than that. And we'll just address them here, and that's Judas and the Black Messiah, The Mauritanian, and Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut. So those are also in my honorable mentions list. I also do have Mass, Mitchells vs. the Machines, one of the better horror films in The Night House. And we have Seven Prisoners, which is the Netflix film. And another documentary, The Summer of Soul. So really great films right here. Just could not make my top 10 list. So that being said, let's dive right into the top 10. Number 10 is a little bit lower than most people's, and that is Dune. As someone who's read the book and enjoyed aspects of it, and then other aspects really didn't like. I did think that this was a very faithful adaptation. Visually speaking, it's a stunning film to look at. The score is amazing, and I kind of don't expect anything less from Denis Villeneuve, especially being that he's a fan of the book series, and it's a really epic film, and it demands to be seen in the biggest screen possible with the best surround sound system. And I did enjoy it. I just, the problems that were in the book really did come to light as well in the movie, and that's with the characters. The world building is amazing, and there's a lot of good technical aspects that make this film superb, but good enough to make into the top 10, but just not up there with some of these other films on my list. And number 9 is my favorite documentary of the year, and that is Flee. Very heart-wrenching, hard to watch film. With everything going on in Russia right now and Ukraine, this movie being set partially in Russia, granted that it's an animated film, probably better that it was an animated film, but really does not paint Russia well in this film at all. But aside from that, just the story itself is it's such an emotional journey, and I was invested the entire time. And it's not the most pleasant film to watch, but man, is it a moving and emotional and devastating story that is definitely worth checking out if you get the chance, because I know it's a movie that's not a lot of people have seen, and it's kind of flown under the radar. It is getting nominated for a couple of awards, and I hope it does win some of those. At number 8 is the James Bond film, the last one, No Time to Die. Not really sure why a lot of people didn't really vibe with this one. I really enjoyed it. In fact, this movie gave us a reason to actually watch Spectre now, because they kind of better developed the character of Madeline in this film, and I was finally able to get behind her character. I thought it was a nice cap off to the series, and some unexpected things happen. And I love the beginning, and I love the ending of the film. It kind of comes in full circle. I thought the score would fit well. The villain might not have been developed as well as he probably should have, but the weaponry and the technology that he's using, very fascinating and interesting, especially in today's time when we're dealing with biological warfare, and it is really interesting. And as a thriller, as an action film, I thought it hit all the notes to be a great James Bond film. It's up there. It's in my top 5 James Bond films. Like, it's not the best one, and it's not Daniel Craig's best, but certainly one to check out if you're a fan of the series. And it just sat really well with me. And at the end of the year, it's one that stood out. And number 7 is Coda, a film that's finally starting to get some traction. Maybe will win Best Picture. I'm really glad. I've seen this film twice now, and I think it still holds up really well. I love the family dynamic in this film. I think the movie is hilarious, and it's a very heartwarming and emotional journey. And might I add that the main character is just amazing in this film, both learning how to sign, learning how to sing, and acting. I mean, you kind of really appreciate the amount of work that went in for that character to play this role. And the chemistry is really great between all the characters. And it's one of the lighter films I have on my list, and I'm glad to say that I at least have a somewhat light film on here in its top 10. Yeah, Coda, one of the better films of the year. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I mean, it's such a pleasant film to watch. It has some emotional moments, but at the end of the day, it's a sweet film. And number 6 is The Last Night in Soho. Not a lot of people like this one, but for me, the style was fantastic. I absolutely loved the visuals, the editing, the soundtrack, the score. The acting was pretty good too, especially from Anya Taylor-Joy, who should have been in this film even more. I love the callbacks to the 60s. The fact that this film keeps you guessing the entire time. It's my favorite thriller of the year, and I've seen this film twice, and I see so much more rewatchability with it. And number 5 is The Green Knight. One of the best visually looking films of the year, and I know I said that about Last Night in Soho, but The Green Knight, the use of color in this film is absolutely amazing. The atmosphere it captures, the journey, there's so much visual storytelling in this and so many ways to interpret it. It's gonna be one of those films you need to watch at least twice, I'd say. The first watch is overwhelming because you don't really know what it's trying to say. On the second watch, you kind of start piecing things together, noticing things you didn't notice before. And that's just a product of an A24 film. The special effects are really good too. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but the special effects are pretty darn good in this film. Just love the journey, love the metaphors and the symbolism and the imagery. You know, it just has a great atmosphere. I love films that capture atmosphere really well, and this was just one of those. You know, I've seen this film also twice this year, and I see plenty more rewatch value in it. And number 4 is the Ridley Scott film that nobody saw, or at least most people didn't, and that's The Last Duel. So while everyone went to see The House of Gucci, apparently everyone forgot that Ridley Scott is really great at making period pieces, because this is a fantastic film. With some really great performances, stunning camera work, editing, and contrary to what it might seem, it's actually a film with a really great message, especially for women. And kind of just baffles me how this film underperformed when it's got such star power and a director who's been in this business for how many years, doing Gladiator, Alien, Blade Runner, Kingdom of Heaven. I mean, this guy's been around for how many decades? And for this film to flop, and for it to be good, so good, didn't make any sense for me. Yes, it's very heavy dialogue driven, but man, is it engaging. And I love the fact that it gives you 3 different perspectives and you're trying to piece it together yourself to kind of see who's lying, who's telling the truth. And I do need to revisit it. I've only seen it the one time, but I will be picking it up on 4K because it's a stunning and spectacular film. Everyone needs to check out. And number 3 is Little Fish. More of a smaller scale film that I stumbled across, and it's really stuck all this time. And even on the second watch, I still find it to be, such a really powerful film. If you've ever seen Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind, think that, but more of a global scale. And this might not be the film for everybody because, it's dealing with pandemics, and that's probably not the best topic that anybody wants to watch anymore anyway. So, yeah, it's a memory virus that is plaguing the world, and it's definitely one of the most depressing films I've seen this year. But the acting is spectacular, and I love the story, the structure, and that it kind of catches me off guard. It was not something I expected to end the way it did. And it was a film that really resonated and stuck with me the entire year. And there just wasn't a whole lot of films that got to that level. So, Little Fish, if you get a chance to see it, do check it out. It's one of the better films of the year. It's more obscure, but it's definitely worth checking out. And number 2 is the best A24 film. So it wasn't The Green Knight, but it is The Tragedy of Macbeth. I just ate up the scenery in this film. Watching this in theaters the first time was just amazing. I mean, the black and white cinematography, that eerie sound, the fog, the witches. I mean, the witches, oh my freaking God. The witch was fantastic in the film. Totally stole the spotlight from any other character in the film. But the ominous vibe and the imagery, the darkness, I absolutely loved it. One of the best Macbeth adaptations put on screen. I did not get the chance to see the the Michael Fassbender one, but the one from 1970s with the Roman Polanski made was the only one I had seen at the time, and I haven't seen that film in so long, but so far this one is my favorite one. The dialogue might be a little difficult to understand because it is in Old English, but so was The Green Knight, actually, if you think about it. I mean, this one's a little more difficult to understand, but if you've read the story and if you paid attention in high school, it shouldn't be that difficult to understand, especially if you have subtitles, if you're watching it on Apple TV or something. But absolutely love this film. It's got a perfect runtime. Cast is incredible. I was skeptical about the cast at first, but when this was made by only one Coen brother, but anytime a Coen brother is attached to some kind of serious drama, it usually is a good sign. Their comedies are kind of a hit or miss for me, but their dramas are actually really good. Highest recommendations to any Shakespearean fans. I know I did a video before saying, well, people are tired of watching, Romeo and Juliet or Shakespeare. They're tired of it. And here we are this year getting 2 Shakespearean stories with West Side Story, which, well, that'll be another video. That, and then this film, which is an incredible film. And finally, number 1 is Annette. It's interesting because this is a movie I was not even planning on watching, honestly, let alone making the top 10 or even being number 1 on the list. I mean, holy cow, this movie caught me off guard. Musicals, sometimes are hit or miss for me, but when it comes to darker musicals, I do tend to like them a lot. I do enjoy Sweeney Todd and Les Miserables, and this was another one to add to that list because this movie has, again, another film this year that has such great atmosphere, use of color. The score is very, it is a little repetitive, but it definitely sticks with you. And then just the characters, they might not be the most developed characters, but what this director likes to do a lot of times is play emotion through his score. And sometimes just the music alone would say a lot about the character and what they're going through, and just even the themes and messages of this film about child exploitation, how media misconstrues information and ruins people's lives and careers. I really dug how different this film was. It's not going to be, again, for everybody. It's weird as hell, but I was floored by the performances, and I'm, again, shocked that nobody is talking about Adam Driver in Last Duel or this film. In the Last Duel, he was good, but in this film, he just takes center command, and his presence just radiates across this entire film. I mean, completely floored by his performance. And Marion Cotillard, she did get nominated, I think, for the Golden Globe this year or something, but completely just like thrown aside. She was fantastic in this film. I absolutely loved her. And the operatic notes that she reaches in this film are fantastic. I think I rewatched some of the scenes with her like 5 times. And yeah, I've only seen this film twice, but I've already want to watch it a 3rd time. It's a movie that really stuck with me more than any other film this year. I didn't give any film this year like 5 stars, but very close to it. This film is a film that's going to be grow on me the more times I watch it. And every time I finish watching this movie, I can't help but shed a tear a little bit, because you kind of feel for these characters a little bit, even though you didn't get to know them too well, but you kind of understand their situation, especially the little girl. Which is also very interesting how, what they choose to do with this girl, because she's in a form of a puppet. A movie like no other this year, along with Titane. Amazing film, really loved it. I wish everyone else kind of gave it a little bit more attention and approached it with more of an open mind. I know that Dan Merle put it in number 1, and I was shocked because I was not expecting anyone to have this movie in the top 5, let alone be number 1. But Dan Merle, good for you. I'm glad I'm not the only one who really enjoyed this film. So that is my top 10 2021 films. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd be curious to check out what your guys' lists are, if you could write them down below, or any other titles that I might have missed, because I did get to see quite a bit of films this year, 130 some new films in 2021. Crazy. Never even gotten to that number ever before. So got to see a lot of really good movies this year. So I might have missed, I know I missed a few, but if there were any that I missed that you thought were worthy of the top 10, please do comment that down below. If you guys can hit that like and subscription button down below, I'd really appreciate the support, and I will see you guys later.